Hello everyone, and this will be a different type of video. Usually I don't like to bash on players or make it seem like Napoli can do no wrong. I try to stay unbiased, but this situation overall, while Napoli has done some wrong, has really just turned out to be a pain. I guess we'll walk through these timeline events briefly. I mean, there's not much to say. There's a few key events we can go over, and I can vent my frustration because the deal for Osimhen to go to Turkey is on the verge of collapse for 75 million, whatever euros or whatever economy it is in Italy. But yeah, it's pretty upsetting that we've gotten to this point. We'll go in the key order of events, like I said, but both parties have been at fault at some point, but majority of it has been the player's fault. But before I keep bashing on him, let's go in the timeline of events. Like I said, these are all there's going to be reports. They're not going to be true because the clubs in it will never come out for just negotiations and say publicly that this stuff happened, right? So take it with a grain of salt for any of these reports. I might screen cap some of them. If I don't, you can look on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it. There's a lot of reports on there if you just search it up, and the reliable sources are there. Like there's Nico Shira, Fabrizio, everyone knows, and maybe there's probably a couple more that are valid to look at too. So yeah, here, let me just go in the key order of events. So in 2023, I don't know if it was Al Hilal again or a Saudi club, I know that for sure, went and offered, I think, Napoli 150 million for Victor Osimhen. That number might be wrong. Like I said, I can hopefully find a screenshot. I remember seeing this back then, and they offered him around $1 million per week, or 52 million. Or maybe that was 2024. Whatever, they offered him a lot of money was the point. And he was open to going, I think, for a while. And this is the one where I said both sides were wrong, because Napoli, ideally, if we would have known what happened now, they would have sold him then, because this has been a mess. But back then they were thinking, we're going to compete again, we're going to go for the 2024 Scudetto. Not knowing that Rudy Garcia would carry them to absolutely nothing, and they would get 10th. But anyway, sticking on the point, I can understand their side. They wanted to keep him, and they kind of asked him and negotiated with him to stay instead of go to Saudi. They will say, okay, you can go next year in a couple years, and we're going to win one more title with you. Start a dynasty was the idea. Well, obviously, now that we're getting past the past tense, that didn't happen. It was a mess. Osimhen went on podcasts talking about, I can't remember what it was exactly. He was talking about some weird stuff on podcasts, like talking like he was already like checked out, wanting to leave in January or February. Like I said, this is all off of memory, so some of these details will be wrong.
It's been a weird relationship, hasn't it, between player and club?
Napoli is a club that he's not going to stay at for the rest of his career. He feels like he can go on to bigger and better things, but he signs a contract and straight away he's talking about where he's going to go.
Yeah, I already know what I want to, the next step that I want to take.
I think there's a buyout clause there for 100 million, and it feels like some sort of deal's being done between all parties that I'll sign a new contract, my wages will go through the roof, but there's a deal there if someone wants to do one in the summer.
I think that's basically it for the 2023. That's like the least drama out of all of them. It's like the Napoli should have sold him then if we would have known 150 million. You could still get 80 million for him in 2024, right? So let's jump to 2024. In 2024, another Saudi comes up. I think this one is probably Al Ali or Al Hilal again. Close to deadline day. It was one of the last days, and them and Chelsea, it went down to the last 30 minutes of the transfer market, and he couldn't get on agreements of wages. And I don't know if there was any deals Napoli rejected, so I'd have to look into that. But I know the Chelsea one, it was Osimhen rejecting the wages. So Napoli were left with a player that wanted to leave, and Conte isolated him out of the team. They did not want him playing. So they got lucky. Galatasaray from Turkey was willing to cover his wages, so they loaned him out. The free jail, what is it called? Get out of jail free card. There you go. Because they would have had to pay his wages just for him to not play. That would have been detrimental, or I don't know if that's the right word, but very bad. Yeah, that one was a mess too. That was the player side, that one for sure, because I don't know what went down. We'll never know what went down in those rooms. We just have to go off reports. But off the reports, I don't know why he was trying to up his wages so much. If he really wanted to, just go for a year. You're going to get better wages at Chelsea. It was slightly better wages, and you're going to be playing in the Prem, pushing. He would have made the Champions League probably, right? But instead, he stayed, and he got a loan to Turkey, where apparently he loved it. He wants to go back now, but we're not there until play with Mertens. It all went well. They won the title. Napoli won the title. Works out for everyone. Sure, let's pretend like Osimhen should be playing in Turkey at the age of 26. So you really forget it's been 3 years of the saga if you include every transfer market as a year. Let's go back. So the first offers have been from Al Hilal, and they offered him 50 million. I think again, they offered him a crazy amount of wages. He somehow said, I think he said no, and rejected them. They're finally pulled out now after 2 months. They've been begging him, and he just keeps saying no. So they gave it up. But yeah, now we're at the point where he only wants Galatasaray, and the offers seem to be going well. They're offering up the 75 million. We get to the finish line, and Napoli says, okay, here, hand us the paperwork to prove that you're going to pay this over 5 years, because that's what they can afford, is paying it over installments. And this could change in the hours, this could change in days, this could change till the end of the transfer window, but at least right now, Galatasaray does not have the papers to prove they're going to pay that. So we're at a standstill where a player of Osimhen's quality who wants to go to Turkey willingly, I'm not getting in an argument, you can say they're a bigger club than Napoli. Whole point is being that he should be at like a top tier, like Chelsea, I don't know, any club in England or something, like where they usually give these big wages, right? And you can say they're an upgrade over Napoli. Like, going to Turkey is, I don't want to say sideways. Like I said, I'm not trying to diss anybody's team. I'm more dissing the player for this choice. Galatasaray, I'm fine with their team. They had Mertens. I really like him when he was Napoli. Nothing wrong with them at all. I'm talking about Osimhen, why he wants to go back there so bad and causing this chaos of a deal. And it's not going down well. Negotiations are very close to being failed. And at that point, what happens? Do they try to make an agreement and he stays? It's like nothing ever happened? Or does he get isolated for a year and then his contract renews if he stays for 2027? Everyone thinks his contract's done next year. It's 2027 he stays, if he stays with the team next year. So I don't know how that clause gets overwritten unless they mutually decide that they don't want to go together and maybe they let him as a free agent in 2026, but I'm pretty sure there's a agreement that the contract would extend to 2027. Osimhen had many chances here to go to many teams over the years, and he keeps refusing, and he's very particular, and he wants a lot of money but then turns down the lots of money. So what is Napoli meant to do, at least after 2023? That was the one that was their fault. So in 2024, they couldn't have done anything because they were open to selling him. It was chaos. This one's even worse. This is absolute chaos. They just want him off the books. They just want their $75 million. Euros. Sorry for any sounds. That's construction going outside the building. But yeah, I am baffled. I don't know if I've seen anything like this in my lifetime. At least that I can remember. Maybe when I was a kid stuff happened, but I wouldn't remember that. This is just dragged out for 3 years. Think about that. That's almost half a decade. We're 2 years off half a decade of dragging a transfer out. That is insane to me. 1 year I can understand, maybe 2, 3. This is getting kind of crazy now. Someone's gotta give it up. Whether you gotta say Napoli just take 50 million and move on and hope Osimhen agrees, or Osimhen just needs to agree to another team that isn't Galatasaray. Because this is I have bias. This is my team that I support, but it's absolutely ridiculous how this has gone down. The negative meeting between Napoli and Galatasaray for Osimhen. This is what I saw this morning, making me make this video. The Turkish club did not provide the guarantees requested. The deal is close to falling through. That was the last update we have. Hopefully this changes in the next few hours, next few days, next few weeks, because clearly nobody wants to be together in this relationship between the player and the club, and it has been handled very poorly. You could say both sides, at least in the last 2 years. I think it's mostly player side. But I'll put my hands up. I'm not trying to start controversy. Let's say both sides were in the wrong. For both sides, I think this ending would be great, like imminently, like any day, any moment. The fact it's dragged on this long, like I said, I'm going to be very repetitive. It is a joke, and it needs to be done. I think that's all I have to say. I don't want to cause any more drama if this somehow blows up. I really doubt it, but I do not want to make any hatred toward Galatasaray fans. I have nothing wrong with that team. They're a cool team, and I hope that this is all sorted by the moment this gets uploaded, is my hope. But realistically, it sounds more and more like he's going to have to be under contract with us for another year. So hopefully this is sorted and we all get our good ending, but that's it. And I will speak to you guys later. Let me know if you want more videos like this talking about a player case. But I only know about this one so much because it's Osimhen and he plays for my club, or he's under contract with my club. Hopefully a prediction video coming out soon and a reaction to my predictions, because obviously Napoli won and I did not have them anything close to winning. So Forza Napoli. Hopefully this deal gets done.
In another life, this may have been different.